In this video I'll be showing you how to replace the timing belt and water pump in your car. The engine I'll be performing the water pump and timing belt replacement on is a Honda D15B JDM VTEC. It's a single overhead cam 1.5 liter. The difficulty of this ranges on the type of engine you have and the type of car you have. For this car, according to the manual, it's supposed to take about 2 hours, so it's not too difficult. To start off with, I'll be removing the splash guard down here. I'll also be removing the power steering pump down here. Then I'm going to take off the belt for the alternator, and I'm also going to take off the belt for the AC compressor, which is down there. Alright, so for the power steering pump on my car, the first thing I did was loosen these two bolts right here, and then I loosened this wing nut bolt that's right here. And so, after I got that all loose, then I can just remove this, and after that I'm going to be taking this power steering pump loose from the engine, but I'm not going to disconnect these lines. I'm just going to move the power steering pump aside, and I'm also going to have to remove the power steering pump bracket. On my car, to remove this bracket, there's a bolt right here, a bolt down in here, and then there's another bolt down that way, and then this bolt, and I believe that's all the bolts. Alright, I now have those parts off. Here's the splash shield, here's the AC belt, here's the power steering bracket, power steering belt. I just spent the past couple of hours trying to get off the bolt for the pulley down there. I tried a bunch of different things. I tried using these big channel locks on the pulley. I tried everything I could think of, putting it into gear and holding the brakes, and nothing seemed to work. And finally I found something that I got to work. The best way to do this is with an impact wrench, but if you don't, you may have to improvise like I did. It's a bit dark, but what I did was, over here there's a bracket so that you can tow the car. So I put a bolt in there and I attached a chain to it, and then I put a nut on it. And then over on the pulley, it's hard to see, but there's a series of holes in the pulley, so I put a bolt in one of those holes, put the chain over the bolt, and then tighten the nut on it. And then I simply put this breaker bar on it, and with my foot just kept hitting it, and finally it broke loose. But it's been giving me a lot of problems. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a jack. I'm going to put it under the oil pan. I'm going to put a small 2x4 between the jack and the oil pan, and I'm going to bring up the jack until the 2x4 makes contact with the oil pan up here. So that way the engine will be supported. After I do that, I'm going to take off these two nuts, which are for the engine mount. Then I'm going to pivot the engine mount out of the way. Okay, after I do that, I'm going to loosen the bolt for the valve cover. And then I'm going to take off this bolt and this bolt, which are for the upper timing belt cover. After I do that, I'm going to lift up this valve cover a bit, and I'm going to move the upper timing belt cover out of the way, and then lower the valve cover back down, and then I'll be able to remove the upper timing belt cover. On your car you may not have to do all that, but on my car I have to do all that because the upper timing belt cover has a lip that sticks up, which the valve cover goes over it. So you can't just pull it out, you have to lift the valve cover first. Alright, After I do that, I'm going to rotate the main pulley down there, the crankshaft pulley, until I get the number 1 piston at top dead center, TDC. To get yours at TDC, you're going to have to look it up for your specific car. For my car, when you get this upper timing belt cover off, there's marks on the cam pulley, which will show you where TDC is at. Alright, so now I have the crankshaft pulley and the upper and lower timing belt covers off. Now, up here on the camshaft pulley, on my car, on the top up here it says up, meaning that the up should be up here, you know. And then there's a line here and a line here, which are supposed to be for so that you line it up straight with the where the head bolts on up here. I think that's, I'm not sure what that's for exactly. I think it might be for a different style engine or something. And then there's a mark down here, and it's hard to see, but if you can see this little pointer down here, on my engine you're supposed to line up this mark with that little pointer. It's a little plastic like arrow looking thing, and when you align that line with that, it means that it's at top dead center. If your timing belt didn't break, then when you turn the crankshaft down there and get this at the crankshaft pulley at TDC, then both the marks on the camshaft pulley and on the crankshaft pulley, both of them should line up with their arrows, meaning that it should already be in time, unless the person who previously installed your timing belt installed it incorrectly. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is, there's a little tensioner right down there. Right down there, there's a tensioner for the timing belt. So I'm going to loosen that bolt about 180 degrees, and then I'll be able to just pull the timing belt off. After I do that, I'm going to drain the coolant. And to drain the coolant on this car, let's see, right there's a little valve you turn, and then the coolant will come out of there. Many cars have valves like that under the radiators. So after I get all the coolant out, then I'm going to take off the water pump, which is right here. There it is right there. There's a few bolts that hold it in, so after I get the bolts off, I'll just pull it off, and then I can put the new one on.